CHamoru Masterclass series is brought to you by Puntan Dos Amantes.
Buenas and hot for day, everybody. My name is Hila'an San Nicolas. I am a CHamoru jewelry carver. Welcome to KOAM's Masterclass series. Today I'll be showing you guys how to carve a simple spondylus money bead necklace. I'm a CHamoru jewelry carver. I started the year that Festpac came to Guam, which is 2016, so going on just about 5 years now. In front of me I have some raw spondylus pieces, all picked from the Marianas. And here I have a really heavy red spondylus piece. The significance of the spondylus money in our culture goes back over 1,000 years to the Lati period of ancient CHamoru history. It was mainly used by the women in ancient society and was used as a symbol of high social status, and was used also as a form of currency to trade between clans and maintain those interfamilial relations between different peoples from different places who had access to different resources. So let's say if my village was by the sea and your village was by the mountain, I could trade you spondylus for something that is only available in the mountains, or you could trade me something, or vice versa. You know, we know what we know about spondylus jewelry from a lot of the archaeological digs that have happened over the development of Guam. So we know that they were mainly worn by women because they were found primarily on the graves and burials of women. Men typically wore something more that consisted more of cone shell jewelry and clamshell jewelry. And a little known fact about the Sanahi is that since it was never found in an archaeological dig adorning any remains of any people, we don't know for sure if it was ever worn as a piece of jewelry. But since culture is evolving and ever changing, and because we as CHamoru people are still here, still forming and still evolving our culture for ourselves, we have in the 21st century made it and brought it to what it is today as a symbol of our people. So today I'm going to show you guys how to make a simple spondylus money bead necklace. Step one, of course, is to find yourself a nice spondylus that's suitable for working with. You want the ones that are typically have a lot of color on the backside, and you don't want one that has too much calcium buildup, and you don't want one that's very porous either, because you won't be able to get it to shine as well. So today we're going to be working on this spondylus here. This spondylus is actually a piece from South Florida. There's a shell collector who has been sending a lot of spondylus to a lot of the CHamoru jewelry carvers. His name is Ronald Lusk, by the way. Shout out Ronald Lusk, thank you so much. So as you can see, I have here in front of me a couple of my tools of the trade, right? This is actually a tile saw, but it's super good for cutting shells, stone. So we use this tile saw to cut the rough shape out of the shell and to get rid of all of these spikes on the front, kind of smooth it down. This is the first step. Then the second step, we're gonna move on to the handheld dremel. For this step, we have some sanding discs. You can find these at any Benson hardware or Home Depot, right? And then for the third step, we're gonna use these diamond-headed bits right here. And these diamond-headed bits allow us to drill through shell, bone, and stone with a lot of ease, okay, and without damaging the shell. If you use a bit that isn't diamond tipped, you have a higher chance of overheating the shell and cracking it prematurely, right? And then after that, the last step, of course, is going to be to string it up. This is a nylon string. You can find this at like any party store or craft store. And so yeah, those are all the steps. Let's get right into it. Alright, so if you do manage to find the whole spondylus shell, you're going to want to look at the inside of it. And right around the lip of the inside of the shells, you're going to see a colored part and a white part. So that colored part is really, really weak and fickle. So you're going to want to get rid of that. sharp at all. So when it's so now we're gonna go ahead and cut out the circle part that we want. Shape. When you're doing this step, don't be afraid to take your time. All right, there's no such thing as too round. Now we move on to the Dremel. All right, we finished up with the saw. We are here with the Dremel now. We're gonna start with a diamond-tipped sanding disc, right? And we're gonna get this just one grade smoother, right? This in, tighten that. Alright, we're done with this stage. This disc is about a 60 grit disc. That's the grade of sandpaper, I guess you could say it is. It's really rough, and the way to attain a really good shine on pieces is to start at a really low grit and gradually work your way up. So after the 60 grit, we're gonna go to a 120 grit, and then from 120 to 240 to 400, and then to 2500, and by that point it's going to be almost as reflective as glass. So here's the 120. So here's the shell now at 120 grit. Next we're going to go to 240. So here, this is the 240 grit, and at this point you can start to see that signature Spondylus glow start to pop out. Alright, so here's the 400 grit. Here we go. That's it for the 400 grit. Now for the final step on the sanding and polishing process, we're going to go to 2500. Alright, there we go. Finished, fully polished spondylus money bead. If you want to maintain your interfamilial relations with neighboring clans, this is your key. Now we're going to go on to the last step of the carving process, and we're going to go ahead and drill this bad boy. Right? Now when you're drilling your pieces, no matter what kind of piece it is, you want to make sure that you keep your piece submerged for the duration of the whole drilling process, because if you don't, you risk cracking your piece, you risk breaking your bit. And the reason for that is that if the piece overheats, it becomes too brittle, and then you risk, the biggest risk is wasting your shell, your time and your energy and your efforts. So make sure you avoid that by keeping your piece submerged. So for this part, you're going to want to use your ballpoint diamond tipped bit. It comes in this same set. You can find this at Benson Hardware, Guam Home Center, Home Depot. So we're going to go ahead and just attach that to our dremel. And then when you're drilling your shell, typically I start from the back, because the back is actually softer, being that it is the inside of the shell. So here we go. So that it's not too sharp and it doesn't end up cutting our rope. Let's clean the back of the hole as well. Alright, there you go. One spondylus money bead. So now for the stringing process, we're gonna have our handy dandy stringing kit right here. Basic lighter, scissors, and your nylon twine. So you're going to want this to be about 2 feet long, so just about a foot folded in half, right? Or however much space you need to get it over your head, depends on the size of your head, of course. And I like to melt the tips together so that they're easier to run through the hole in our bead. So you're going to want to measure it out, make sure the tips are close together, and just wait until they start to melt down and bubble a little bit. Then give it a couple seconds. Don't touch it right away because you'll burn yourself. And then just roll them together until they come to a joint point like that. And then you take your bead, and from the back you want to run it forward, and now you'll have this loop hanging out of the back. Then you're going to want to take that string and run it up through the loop, so your bead sits beautifully like that. Alright? Alright, so once you get that side done, that's all you need to do. Now we're going to work on the closure in the back. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to split these two, right? And then you're going to cross one over the other, okay, at whatever desired length you want. But you want to leave enough space here to be able to tie it into a knot. So what you're going to do is take the one that's crossing over the other one and tie it into just a simple knot around this one here, like so. And then just the same way as you did that, you're going to take the one behind that and tie it in a knot around the other one. Now both sides should be knotted around each other so that they can slide freely along each other like that. And this is your adjustable, this is the adjustable aspect of the necklace. So you don't want them to be too tight, because if the knot is tied too tightly around the rope, it won't be able to slide. And then if you want, and you have a little left over here, to make adjusting easier, you can tie that into its own knot around itself. Same on this side. Tie it into a knot. Now all that's left for you to do is trim the excess and melt it closed. So we're going to take our scissors and cut as close to the knot as you can, while also leaving just very little so that you have something to melt and cover the rest of the knot. Now just wait a couple seconds. As soon as it starts to bubble up, press it down. Same with the other side. Pull that a little bit. Good enough. And melt it. So that concludes our Spondylus money bead necklace video. Thank you guys for tuning into KUAM's Masterclass segment. So excited to see you guys come up with your own pieces, you know, get out there, find some shells, connect with the land, connect with the ocean and your ancestors, and viva CHamoru.